everybody. How y'all doing tonight? I want to thank everybody for joining in on our late night show. At least that's what James would say. Old man's about ready to go to sleep on me. But, James, how you doing tonight, buddy?
Oh, just waking up.
I hear you, man. I actually was getting a little tired myself. I was like, man, most of the time we're halfway into our show, well over and halfway of our show at this time. So, I want to thank everybody for tuning in tonight. We got a very special show, as y'all know. I've been posting it as we got Aaron Martens on. So, really looking forward to doing this show. A lot of people know me. I love the drop shot. I love Carolina rigging. I love drop shotting, but I love fishing deep, and we're getting the man on that's really good at it. He's, I say, one of the best at drop shotting. So, anyways, we're going to have him on, and just like I said, really excited about this show. So, James, I want to tell you congratulations for making the top 3 on our the Blue Ridge Paddlers Bass Classic, and making you a little bit of side money on it.
Yeah, it was great. Yeah, I want to thank everybody, who fished in the tournament. For one, it was a great time.
Yeah,
for sure.
It was a blast. It was fun keeping up with it, and I know that I'm trying to catch you, and there for a while it was pretty close, and then then it started kind of you started pulling on ahead, and I couldn't quite get them big ones in the boat, which we all have that story. So, but yeah, it was a great time. Like to thank everybody for doing. We're going to kind of go in more after we get off the phone with Aaron and talk just a little bit about it, but I just want to tell everybody first right now is we got our contest for 200 subscribers. Let me pull it up here. 200 subscribers. We'll be giving away this great package. If you're listening on Blog Talk or iTunes, it's it's a OneObjective shirt, Bob's Up the Creek Outfitter shirt, one of our hats, and then lots of baits from our sponsors, from Missile Baits and Bigfoot Baits and J&J Custom Tackle. So a couple stickers in there. But anyways, yes, as soon as we hit 200 subscribers on our YouTube channel, we're going to be giving this great pack away. And like I say, we're going to be picking out of our YouTube subscribers. So make sure, I put the link on our Facebook a little while ago that was going to go live. Make sure that you go in there and subscribe to our channel. So, but then we also, I don't have no picture of this one. But if you go on our Facebook, it's somewhere in there. I need to repost it again. But once we hit 1,000 likes on our Facebook page, we'll be doing another giveaway. Not quite as much stuff in this one, but it is a nice Ranger hat and Strike King crankbait, and I think it was a buff in there and a couple other odd-end things. So, excuse me, Hoorag, same thing, I guess. But anyways, so please, we're close, James. I mean, have you checked it lately?
I haven't checked it today, but I know that we've been gaining pretty quick here lately. We've been getting a few people actually subscribing to YouTube and liking our page on Facebook. A lot more here recently in the past couple weeks, really.
Yeah, it's really been shooting up. So
it's been great.
Yeah, and we want to thank everybody that has subscribed so far and been following our stuff, and everybody that shares our stuff. That means a lot, and just really appreciate it. So we got a new video up. Gerald Schofer, he went over with the guys at Standard Mapping. Now, when you read it, it says you see Standard Mapping. It's not standard mapping as you would think, like base model mapping. It's actually satellite images of those areas. This guy's doing Florida. They say he's got a lot of stuff from Louisiana, and but anyways, we got the video up. Check it out. Share it if you like it. And but anyways, we got Aaron Martens. He's calling in right now, so let's go ahead and get with him. I don't want to hold him up much longer, and talk about his win on Lake Champlain.
Yeah, let's get him in.
How you doing, Aaron?
You guys hear me?
Yeah, buddy, there?
Hey, Josh. What's up, man?
Oh.
Yeah, I'm here. I'm here.
Thanks, man. I appreciate you coming on tonight.
No problem. Anytime. It's good to be home.
Yeah.
It's probably a couple weeks, but I'm good to be home. But I feel like I want to go fishing though.
Yeah.
And the problem is when I'm home, I'm not fishing. I'm not fishing much when I'm home. I'm too busy doing maintenance and like getting ready for the next one. If I keep going, I get to keep fishing. So
that's right.
It's more work being home. I have to. It seems like I'm always fixing stuff or doing stuff.
Yeah, the honey-do list.
The family. Yeah, it's good to be with the family though. It's about 4 or 5 months a year, probably all together. I don't. Seems like I'm not with the family. Sometimes they were with me at Champlain in those couple tournaments, but they are going to school now and they're older now, so I'm solo a lot. Like this next, I think when I leave in a couple weeks, I'll be gone for 5 or 6 weeks by myself. So turn into a little fishing machine when you do that. Though that's all you can do is fish. So
that's right. You're focused. You don't have all the other things.
Yeah.
So do you travel with anybody else? I mean, do y'all stay with anybody else, or you just kind of?
No, a lot of us we just scatter and like it's crazy. Like no, I mean I talked to a few of the guys on tour. Like we'll drive and talk. I talk to Kevin sometimes and Chris Lane quite a bit. Todd, Brent Chapman. There's probably 10 guys I talk to. John Cruz, and then maybe. But for the most part, I'm solo on the road. I usually get there. It depends. We leave at such different times. A lot of guys are actually leaving their rigs at places now and flying. They'll leave them at a friend's house. Like I know a few guys are leaving at Bill Lowen's house, their boat and rigs, and then they fly home and just come back up. I almost never do that. Not that I don't trust my rig being somewhere. I don't want to be without a boat if I want to go fishing. And plus, I usually have too much stuff to do in my boat and tackle. I end up playing tackle a lot. Plus, I want to go fishing too when I'm home.
Yeah, that's right.
I don't like not having a boat.
Yeah, I can understand that one.
You gotta keep fishing. It's not as much fun down here in Alabama as it is up in the north, but it's still pretty good.
Oh yeah.
Logan Martin and Lake and all those lakes, they're fun, but I mean you get spoiled fishing up there. It's kind of ridiculous actually. How good the fishing is.
Yeah,
it's kind of
that's
it's off the charts.
Yeah, and
it's
seeing all the
ridiculous. I mean,
I'm sorry. Go ahead, Aaron.
Go ahead.
No, just seeing all the fish being weighed in, man. It was really cool. Just being able to see all. I mean, it's just a great fishery with all the smallmouth.
Yeah, I mean, if you catch like 13 pounds during like last flight, it's crazy. Even in St. Lawrence, those guys catching largemouth. They're only fishing like probably 6 hours, 5 hours, 6 hours a day, and they're catching over 50. Frogging and punching. It's just crazy fishing, fun.
Yeah. Now, kind of break down a little bit, kind of break down a little bit how your practice went, Aaron. I mean, did you got to get onto that bite through practice, or is that something you kind of stumbled as the tournament was going on?
Yeah, well, I don't know if a lot of guys pay attention to that first day. The first day was really kind of cold and windy. It rained for like 10 hours, like a steady rain, and it was really cold. Like it was 57 degrees that day. I was underdressed for it. The fish still bit pretty good, I mean, you can still catch them drop shotting. But you can catch them on a spinnerbait, catch them on a jerkbait. Come on that big Realis, that 120, which is a larger jerkbait. They're eating that really good. And spinnerbait was really good though. I mean, if I was fishing the first 2 days, I probably would on a spinnerbait a lot, and some topwater. But there's a lot of wind, so when it's like that, spinnerbait's hard to beat. That stuff is all working good, so you couldn't see in the water, which I love to do up there. Like when you have those nice sunny days, you can just jam on the trolling motor and throw, like a search bait, something that can get bit here and there, and maybe draw some fish up out of the grass, and you can see them. But it was just no use. You couldn't see anything the first 2 days. I was just looking into darkness. We didn't have much sun, but you had to go by bites then, and you had to, catching fish up there is not that bad. I mean, a lot of places in the south, you really don't want to stick too many of them. We really try to shake them off. But I think those lakes, I don't think a lot of guys shake them off. And you got to see how big they are anyways, and there's so many of them. And if you don't stick them, somebody else is. So actually up there, I think a lot of us actually stick fish. If obviously it's a big one, you can shake it off, you do. But those fish bite again. And so I just went around and caught as many as I could and
try to figure out where the better quality was at. But it's funny because I caught my 2 biggest fish in the first 2 days in like 12, 13 feet of water, and I was focusing in 20 to 30 feet of water. I even caught them in like 40 feet in some places. But you could kind of tell it wasn't as good as it normally is in 20 to 30 feet. There was fish out there, but they weren't as plentiful. And I kind of knew down deep that they're on the banks, and if if I had stayed more in the grass, I'd probably catch more because I was catching them on spinnerbait up there. But I didn't really drop shot there at all. I just threw blades and topwater and then some other stuff like the jerk baits, and I caught them, but I didn't catch as many. But they were good ones, and so I started a tournament off kind of fishing 20 to 30 foot of water, and I had a few spots. Actually, at first I ended up fishing the blow-throughs in between the Inland Sea and the New York side. I ended up fishing those, and the first couple hours I had like 18 pounds in the boat fishing those. I had 4 really beautiful largemouth, and I had probably my smallest fish was probably 3 pounds by the time I left there. So at first I did catch them off the blow-throughs, which there was a lot of boats on them too, but they were there. And then I kind of searched around, went practicing after that. I didn't really hit any of my my waypoints. I had rock piles with grass on them. I had a good bag already. I was just trying to look for new stuff, and the weather was changing a little bit, and then caught a bunch of fish on a big topwater. I was searching the shallows a little bit looking for life, signs of maybe schooling fish here and there. I was just looking for something special and stayed off the stuff I thought was really that I could catch 19, 20 pounds on. And I ended up with 18.5, which I was kind of shocked that first day. I thought I had 19, 12, I think I had bass track out, which I'm usually never over. I was kind of a shock. I didn't understand really. Even when I bagged the fish, they looked pretty big. For some reason they weighed light. And so second day I went to where I caught 3 fish off one blow through and one on the other blow through. The first blow through had I was boat 70 something out, 75 or something, and there was 6 boats on it, and it's only like a 75, maybe 180 feet wide by 100 foot of fishing area, and there's 6 boats in it. So I just idled through them and took off to the second blow through, and there was a boat sitting right where I caught those large ones the day before. So I just kept on going. Never fished the bridges the second day. There were some pictures on bass that showed me fishing them, but I didn't fish them the second day. It might be a little fake. I'm not sure, but I wasn't near bridges the second day. And I started fishing those waypoints. I had a ton of them, and I know the Inland Sea really well. And I started getting bit right away, but just wasn't catching the 4-pounders I need. You need 4-pounders there to compete to win. I was catching a lot of 3-pounders, 2.5s, a lot of fish. Everywhere I went, caught fish, but just it was hard to get I was struggling to get 17 pounds. And make a long story short, I ran to a spot that had some grass next to it. It's 20 feet deep, but the grass there grows 20 feet pretty consistently around the lake. That's about a good depth for it. That's about where it starts to thin out. And I lost one, and this is right before I came in, and I had 10 minutes left. I lost one, and I dropped it right into the boat as I saw a bump on my grass in 20 feet, and I got bit right away, and it was a 4-pound smallmouth, my biggest fish of the day, which really helped me. And I ended up culling with that one. I dropped down again. I caught another one about 2.5. So there's a lot of fish there. And this is an area I caught a 4.5-pound smallmouth in practice, a couple 3-pounders shallow, a few hundred yards from where I was fishing at the moment. So I was kind of excited about that. I just kind of wish I had more times. I had a 2.5-pounder in there I wanted to get rid of, and a 2 3/4. It wasn't big enough. I should have got rid of it, but I got stuck with it and came back in. And I ended up third day just blowing some time off on a area that I thought might have potential. It wasn't very good. I never had a keeper for an hour and 15 minutes. And then I beelined it to that spot where I ended up the day before. And I started on that spot and immediately caught one. My first keeper. It was 7:45 or 8 o'clock before I actually caught a keeper, but I caught one in my first cast. Caught him and put him in the boat. It was a 2-pound largemouth, which was kind of a shocker because I caught a smallmouth there before. And I caught, I think, another one there, but they were both small largemouth. So I started working my way in because I noticed that there was still some fish popping here and there. Not really schooling hard, but just one single boil here, and you'd see maybe a carp come up or a pike. There's all kinds of fish in that lake. You'd see the bass boiling too, but just really sporadic, and they were spaced apart. But you just see them that there was an activity line about 16 feet of water. So I started moving up to that line. and I made a cast kind of where I've been seeing them pop here and there, and I caught one first cast up there, and it was like a 4, like a 4.2 largemouth. I was like, dang, that's a good largemouth. And I had stuck him in live well, and it was on after that. Just with that north wind we had, first day of tournament, second day of tournament. Is that how it went? I think just about every day of the tournament was different than practice. The wind shifted out of the north. You had a lot less wind. Last day there was no wind at all, and it was like I said 5 miles an hour, but it was like 1 mile an hour. It was almost nothing. And it was out of the north, what little wind there is. So in that situation, there's, you should be throwing some kind of finesse rig, like a tube, or for me it was a drop shot. But they were eating it really good. It was like pretty good action for like 2 hours. I got up to about 19, maybe 20 pounds over that 2 hour period fishing there, and it kind of slowed down. And it's a big area, a few hundred yards, probably fishing about 300 yards long, 400 yards long by 200 yards deep, like wide area. So it's a good sized area. It took an hour or two to cover a pretty good pace with a drop shot, but I ended up kind of figuring out they kind of were still there, but they were in small groups, and they were pulling into the grass clumps, about 15 feet of water. Like there's water cabbage there, and there's like every kind of grass you could think of in that, like hydrilla, some other stuff too, and just tons of stuff. And I found them in this water cabbage, real tall growing. It grows like 15 feet tall, and it kind of grows and lays down on top of the water. And they were really in that stuff. So I started pitching around, and I started getting bit doing that, like just pitching in the middle of them. And I caught a 4-pounder out of one clump, and it actually didn't call. It was a really fat largemouth. So I was bringing it up, there was a 6-pounder with it.
Oh, wow.
And at this point, I saw that big one. I told my marshal, man, 6-pounder. I was shaking. My knees started shaking. I tried to get the 4-pounder out of the water as quick as I could. I had 8-pound line, so I could only pull so hard. But I got the fish in the boat real quick and went to call, and the fish didn't even help me. Thought it might help, but it just wasn't big enough. So I tossed it back, but I drifted like 70 feet or so from where I put a waypoint down when I saw the big one. So I knew right where that clump was. All the clumps looked the same. There's a ton of them. So I pitched my way back up there, pitching the drop shot, and I ended up to retie, just put a new worm on, which is just a robo worm, 4-inch fat, red, Aaron's Magic Red Flake. That's why I stuck a new worm on. And a new hook that I want everybody to check out when it comes out, but the hook that I was using was kind of a new hook by Got My Guts. I just got my iCast. Phenomenal hook, best hook I've ever used for Texas rigging. But Texas rig drop shot. I ended up kind of pitching around. I got back to that spot, and I pitched kind of where I did the first time, and I pulled it just like I did the first time, dropped it in the hole in the grass, and it sunk down to the bottom about 15 feet. And I started working kind of finesse, kind of hopping it, let it sit, and all the bites were just loading up on it. They were none of them. I didn't feel any bites eat it. It was just all of a sudden it would get solid, and you just hold the rod real still, and you feel it pull a little bit. And I set the hook, and I had a really good one on, but I started seeing that you could see the fish after you hook them. The water is real clear. I could tell it was like a big one, but it wasn't 6 pounds. It was like a 4.5. Anyways, the fish I really needed, so I fought the fish out. They all fought down deep for a while. It was weird to largemouth. Then they get next to the boat and they jump. They jumped a couple times, so I had it hooked good, and I wasn't worried about losing it. I got to the boat and culled the fish out, and I was telling my partner, I said, "That did not look like the fish I saw. I mean, it's a big fish, but that fish is bigger." I can remember telling him that. So I could have thought he was bigger, but I really think that fish was like 6-pounder. I was talking about it, and I was pitching around, and I get to get to the same spot again. And I knew if I got a bait in front of that big fish, she wasn't spooked when I started chasing my fish out. She was just following it, and she just disappeared into the darkness. And it was pretty much, I kind of told my partner, it'd be like a dream, If right now I need a 6-pounder to have a chance to win. So that'd just be like it'd be like I'd have to pinch myself if I caught one. And I was telling him all this. He's like, it probably wasn't the one you saw. You probably did see a 6-pounder. I'm like, I'm almost sure I did. And I pitch back in there, and I do the same thing, and I get bit. And it's heavy pulling off same way. They all three bit the same way. And I set the hook on this one, and there was very little movement when I set the hook. It was more of an immovable object. So I immediately kind of got excited. My heart started beating real hard, and I'm sure my pulse was high. And I was looking for the fish. I was yanking real hard. I was pulling out real hard. The 4.5-pounder wrapped me up in the grass and almost got me bound up. So at the same time I'm fighting it, I could tell it was big. I put my motor on 10, on the trolling motor on 10 in case it was a 6-pounder. I could get on top of it and keep vertical on it. There was a lot of grass around me. Mm-hmm. And I could see it was a real big fish coming towards me, like down deep, like 13 feet down. I was like, I got her. I told my guy, I got her. It's a big one. And I started fighting, and it stayed down for half the fight. It never came up. And I just followed it around. I got right vertical on top of it. I could see it straight down and just stayed vertical on it. And it was going through grass, but it kept breaking the grass, so I wouldn't get bound up. And I got close to the boat, and my partner, I don't think had seen it good yet. He was just trying to stay him away, and it came up pretty much next to him and did like a 3-foot tail walk, a tail walk across the top of the water. It was a giant. And I could see the hook. I could see the hook through the cheek, and I could see it was hooked really good. And the eye was out of the mouth, so I didn't have to worry about, being line free on the teeth. It was perfect. And I just basically at that point, I was so confident I was going to catch that fish, and I just fought it out and got to the back of the boat and pinned it against the side and grabbed it. It was a giant. And I guess the rest is history. That was the one that kind of put me over, but it was just amazing to actually see that fish like 10 minutes before, and to have it live well 10 minutes later it was dreamy kind of. So at that point, I figured I had 22. I asked my marshal. I said, what? Because I've been underestimating all the fish on purpose. It was that first day. I asked him how much we had, and he said 2011. I'm like, that's not right. I just did the math in my head. I'm pretty good at it. I was thinking, that's 22 pounds plus. So, well, that's all right. So it's better to be low and high. But I was really kind of hoping for 23 coming in. I figured if I had 23 pounds, I'd have a really legit chance to win. I thought 22.5 was going to make it really close. I could be a super nail biter. I wasn't sure I was going to give. If I had 23 on the scales, I figured that it would be really hard for somebody to catch me. And it was pretty exciting watching that scale and watching it jump to 23.5. I couldn't believe it. It was pretty much an amazing win for me. And, I had to sit there and wait for 40 minutes or an hour to Jacob Lear weighed in, but I ended up winning it. It was a shocker for sure.
When you were sitting in the hot seat, who was you more concerned about? Was it Jacob Wheeler
Seth
or
Fader
Brandon Polnick?
Seth Fader, I heard Seth. I heard Seth had a really big fighter. Yeah, Seth Fader. I heard he had a giant bag. I heard he had a giant fish. And I was like, man. And he weighed in, and I just hear with bass tracking guys talking. The word was that Seth Fader had the best chance, and when I heard him weigh in, like he had a good bag, but he was almost a pound short. I was like, dang. I said, I don't think Wheeler's got it. At that point, you kind of think you won it, but you still have to wait through the final and see who's got it. But it was pretty amazing. I don't think I acted as excited as I really was. I think I was excited for like an hour up there, just waiting.
Oh yeah, I couldn't imagine sitting in a hot seat knowing that you was 19th and you didn't work your way all the way up to the next.
Yeah, but
guys.
It was like there wasn't that much pressure. There wasn't that much pressure because I was so far. I wasn't really that out of it because it was a 3-pound deficit. I was only 3 pounds at first coming into that last day. It was just there was like no pressure. It was just kind of excitement. And if I didn't win it, I was still excited to move up to second or third, anyways. But to be able to win it from 19th was pretty awesome.
Yeah,
I was very excited.
Now, is that the biggest
great tournament? Biggest
deficit in Bassmasters coming up from 19th and winning an event?
Yeah, I heard it was a record, but I heard the one before was. How often do you get to do that though? Usually you're not fishing anymore, and I've been out of the top 12 cut many times where I've been with a couple pounds at first, and in those real close tournaments, and they only take top 12 the last day, so it only happens once in a blue moon, and it happened to be this time, and I think the time before was Jason Christie had placed. It was at 11th going into the last day, and ended up winning it. And that was the greatest, the furthest back anybody's ever been. It's actually won. So
yeah, definitely
broke the record with being 19th. But how often is that going to happen? It's hard to do. And
yeah,
it may never be broke just because it's so rare to have a 50 people fish on the last day. So it's an unusual.
Yeah, you don't get many chances like that.
No, you don't.
Well, I was reading some articles through Bassmasters, and and it was talking about Dave Mercer was asking, was you trying to underestimate your fish so you didn't have to worry about the camera boats following you around?
I was not. I mean, that's what they think. Steve Bowman was mad at me, but I really wasn't. I told him I didn't really do it on purpose. I said when I had 2011 on Bass Truck, I knew I had 22. I just didn't think I had 23.
Yeah.
But I think if I would have been around 22 pounds, they probably would have brought a camera boat over me, maybe.
Yeah.
I don't know. It was kind of like surreal. It's hard to say. It was beyond peaceful. It was just me and my marshal.
Yeah.
And he was really cool, and there was just nobody around. I mean, there was like I had one bass boat guy pick up a guy on a dock inside of me, and he kind of watched us for like 20 minutes, and I was kind of catching probably a fish every 10 minutes or 8 minutes. So he picked the rod up, and I politely asked him if he might, let me have this a couple 100 yards in here for a few hours. I said I'll probably be out of here, which I thought I would be, but I kept catching him and never left. He's the only guy I saw all day, and he was polite enough to watch us for the wall, and he said good luck, and he took off. And the only people we had around us were patio boats towing tubes and jet skis doing circles around me. And it was fine. I was kind of in the middle of their path, but they waked me out a few times. But the fish kept biting, so it didn't bother me. That's pretty much. I didn't have anybody stop by and watch me. I didn't have Sago came by. Bassmaster photographer. He came by with like 30 minutes till land. And I had been leaving like 22 to 24 minutes before weighing just to be safe. So he's the only guy that showed up, and he literally came and watched me for 5 minutes, and I caught two 2-pounders, maybe 1 2.5 pounder in that time he was there, because it was pretty good fishing. And that was the only person that got any footage of it. I did have a camera going on my windshield, but I only showed off like 3 or 4 of my fish, as I was kind of almost forgot the camera was there. I felt bad after I caught the 6-pounder and the 4.5 pounder. I didn't show them off, but
yeah, they
got on video of me fighting them at least. And I didn't land the fish in the back and bring it back up. I just put it in the live well and tossed one out. I think at that point I was really wanting to fight another 5-pounder. I figured it's possible. 23 is a giant bag, but I was at the point now I still had 2 hours left when I caught that big one. I mean, what the odds of me coming in with like 24 or 25 pounds? And at that point I was just trying to catch as much as I could, so I was on kind of furious hog snatcher mode.
Yeah. Well, that's
So I was really just working to catch as many as I could.
Yeah.
It was fun.
I see some of the guys that were, doing the spy baiting and stuff like that. And I mean, did you try any of that as well? I know you kind of you tried some different things.
I know all that. I know all the different techniques, and that technique I was doing was you're if you were doing something else with me in my boat, you would have been handed to you. It was definitely the best way to catch them. I was catching them so quick.
Yeah.
And I told my partner during the day I could pitch a jig on. I could throw a 20-pound pitch a jig around, but I told him I'd catch maybe 1 or 2 fish. When throw this rig, I'd catch them all. And that's just how it is. It's the drop shot's just a lot more effective. So I just stuck to the drop shot.
I got you.
Little 8-pound line, I had 8-pound sniper on there. Sunline with the 12-pound, this new P-ion braid that Sunline got. It's actually really cool. It's super smooth. And on a medium-heavy rod, though, the Stella reel, and I just had that size 1 kind of prototype. It's not really a prototype. It was a production model hook. I just have a sample of them pretty much, but that hook it's a size 1 I use. I don't know if anybody knows how small that is, but I started off with it, and I never missed a fish all day on it, and I never flexed the hook on those 4-pounders. I bounced a bunch of them too. The hook is tiny. It's amazing how I was bouncing and pulling as hard as I was on those fish, and I never flexed the hook out, which is it's by far the best hook I've ever used or seen. I can't wait for people to try them out. They're absolutely amazing. I'm pretty excited about it. But that was the first time I really got to throw them in a tournament.
So
I just got them at ICAST, so.
Oh yeah, so you ain't had them things long.
They were brand new. They were brand new to me. That's the first time I really used them was that day.
Yeah.
I used them in practice and caught some 2.5, 3-pounders on them in the grass drop shot, and I pulled as hard as I could without breaking the line. I was kind of like smiling after the couple fish on it because this is the way the keeper works. The worm stays up the line. I never had a worm come down. Never had a worm come down the hook. Like that's one of the worst things that can happen is your worm slides down, balls up on the hook, and that causes a lot of fish loss. And my goal was I've been working on keepers for like 20 years is try getting one that's ideal for what it does is hold the worm up. I never had a worm pull down on the hook, which is amazing. Just an amazing hook, it really is. I'm not just saying that. You should at least try them.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's incredible. I never opened it up size 1, but I could have went to a 1/0, but really don't know why I didn't. Just because the 1/0 is quite a bit bigger in the worm. I had such good luck with that size 1 in practice. I just kept using it, and it never failed me.
So when do you rig all your drop shots now where they're kind of weedless, or do you still nose hook them sometimes?
No, I caught all the fish the first 2 days and I caught a few that day too. I still went out to 20, 24 feet of water a few times with a trolling motor. I just trolled out. I had a few waypoints out deeper, and I caught fish on those too. I think I had a 19-pound bag of smallies if I would have kept 5 smallmouth, but I think I caught 10 fish over 4 pounds that day. So I actually caught quite a few on the nose hook that day too, but I wasn't really doing that. It seemed like I'd fish out there a while and catch some 3-pounders and 2.5s, but as soon as I get out there, I want to go back in. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I didn't spend a whole lot of time. But the first 2 days I did. I caught almost all my fish on a nose, the Gamakatsu G Finesse nose hook, the drop shot hook, and that was I had lost 1 fish in 2 weeks on that hook, and that's why I used it at St. Lawrence. I had lost a fish the second day that was pushing 4 1/4, a big smallmouth, and like I said, I got stuck with like a 2-pound 9 or 10 ouncer, and that would have gave me like almost 19 pounds that second day. So I was kind of haunting me on the way, and I kind of was kicking myself because I didn't at least catch a 3-pounder to get rid of that 210, and I thought that was going to cost me coming in, the tournament, but it ended up being 23 pounds, 5 ounces, which it made it so it didn't matter.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's like 50-50 during the season. I use a Texas rig drop shot a lot. I mean, that's, when you're fishing brush piles and pitching pilings, pilings a lot of times people put brush around them. If you're fishing that nose hook, you're going to snag too much. So I do Texas rig drop shot a ton. I even throw a drop shot on a bait caster quite a bit with like 16 or 20 pounds, like a 3-aught. With a bigger worm, and I do that quite a bit, pitch around. But I've been doing a lot of braid fluoro for quite a few years now. I've been kind of even experimenting more with the bait casters now. I think eventually you'll see a lot more guys using braid with fluoro leaders on just about everything. I mean, that's kind of direction I'm going, and that's what I think you'll see probably in the future. Just because the hooks that you get and the power you have is just kind of unmatched compared to straight fluoro or monofilament.
Yeah, well, that's what I've been starting to use. I had a friend of mine that kind of got me kind of doing it more, and then I didn't have a lot of confidence in my knot that I was tying, so I started looking it up.
Very important.
Yeah. And I had a good friend of mine to tell me about he was actually on our show one day talking about the FG knot, and I started tying that, and I love that knot.
Yeah, how do you tie it? You hold the braid in your mouth and braid the fluoro around it, or
you're just kind of doing like
knees
you're just holding the braid in your mouth and you're just kind of making loops over your line.
Yeah,
it's a long knot.
Yeah, you braid it. That's the fastest way. There's another way that Jeff Crete knows it's really good too, but I think the way that you hold the braid in your mouth is actually the fastest. And I've gotten to the point now where I get a pretty much a perfect FG every time, and that's important. If you miss a braid or if you miss up one time, your knot will be ineffective. And if you don't cinch them down tight enough, they can fail too. But as long as you keep it really, really tight, and I'll probably do another video on it. But I've done a few videos, but I haven't. I was kind of a year ago, and I think I'm a lot better at tying it now. But it's just really important to get really, really tight.
Yeah.
But once you get that knot tight, it never fails. I mean, you can put 40 feet on there and fish it all year, and eventually get down to it, and that knot you won't be able to break it. It's like still super strong. It doesn't weaken. It's real close to 100% knot strength. Goes for the guides good, and it's just an awesome knot.
Yeah, you don't really hardly feel it going through your micro guides that much.
No, my guides. If you could through micro guides, I have like a step or two up on the Enigma rods. They're not really micros, but on micro guides you could run into a little issue like casting them.
Yeah.
I actually put my knot onto the spool because I don't want have to retie it again. You know, during the day I try not to. I had to because I had caught so many fish I retied. I think I started off with like a 15 feet of leader material, but I was also using like a close to a 2-foot leader on my drop shot. So every time I retied, I lost 2 feet. So, you know, any kind of fray or knot starts getting wide a little bit from their teeth, I go ahead and retie. I don't wait for the knot to weaken at all. I kind of pull too hard. So I retie a lot, and it's just easier to be able to reel it onto the spool. And you can't do that with pretty much any of the other knots. Unity or the Alberto knot, you really can't. You shouldn't reel. I mean, you can't really reel them onto the reel. They'll wind knot on you, or they'll catch the line on the spool and cause a backlash on you. So it's really probably the best knot I've found so far. Swindle showed me one, Gerald, that's quite a bit quicker, but it still has a little bit of a tag end on it, which is going to grab. So I haven't really played with that one that much.
Yeah.
I don't know what it's called, but it was actually a pretty good knot, but it did have a little bit of a tag end.
I got
you. The FG that's so cool is you can cut all the tag ends off, and basically when you run your fingers up and down, you can't feel anything, that's what you want.
Yeah, and when you got like small diameter braid with small fluorocarbon, I mean, it just.
Oh yeah, 10 or 12 pound braid. It's very small. It's just like you said, it's like a long knot. It's a long braid.
You were talking about throwing a drop shot on a bait casting outfit. What kind of setup do you normally use when you're using you're using bigger worms and all that when you're drop shot with a bait caster? What's your setup with that?
I have used flipping sticks before, like a pitch and stick too, like a 7.3 or 7.4 or even a 7.8. But my favorite way to do it is actually like a 7-footer, 7-foot medium heavy. And normally when I'm flipping and pitching a drop shot, I use like a smaller leader, normally like the length of the worm or maybe a little longer or shorter even. But never, like, I don't usually do a real long leader. If you want something you can kind of control, if you're pitching docks or pilings or trees or bushes, you want to be able to, if you have a long leader on there, it can be a nightmare. So, usually the length of the worm or a little shorter is what my favorite is. And 7-foot medium heavy is fine. You get it kind of long on a rod like that with a finesse rig where you're kind of working the worm and the worm's above your weight. You lose some sensitivity or feel when you're on a long rod compared to like a shorter, like medium heavy rod. Mm-hmm. You can kind of pop the worm better and kind of move it better and feel the bites quicker, and so you can get bit better too on a shorter rod. It just has a better presentation.
Gotcha. Now when it comes to your weights and stuff like that, you're using drop shot weights. I mean, do you think there's a big advantage? I know when you're using tungsten on a bullet weight or Carolina rig or something like that, you feel so much more. But when it comes to drop shot, and I've had people ask me this, do you think it's really worth throwing a tungsten weight on a drop shot rig? I mean, is there a big difference?
Yes. I used to buy lead like years and years and years ago, and I'd use lead when I'm snagging a lot or something, but man, I just didn't like it. You lost so much sensitivity. The tungsten definitely transfers the signal a lot better than lead. So, I mean, it's worth if you fish a ton, you might spend 100, maybe 200, depending where you live, on tungsten weights for the whole season. But, man, it's worth it. It's worth a couple $100 you might spend. So I definitely prefer tungsten over lead. I kind of tie mine on, too. I use the little pinch crimps they have on them, but, I've tried tying overhands in the line and sliding it through and pulling the overhand up into the slot, but even that can break off pretty easy. But I've been actually tying like an overhand, like going twice, going once through the crimp and then going back through it once and then back to the loop and then pulling that tight. And actually, if you do it right, it actually holds really, really well. Also, Picasso has some good ones that you actually, tungsten weights that you can actually tie on, which are actually really good, because if you're using a long leader like that, and this fish can snap your weight off. Anytime you put a knot on a line tie like that, it's gonna, like an overhand knot in fluorocarbon, it's gonna weaken it. So yeah, the tie-on ones are actually really cool. You can tie a really quick uni, which is what I use. You can just run a double line uni, double line through it and tie like a 4-wrap uni real quick. It only takes a matter of a few seconds, and that is a really, really good way of attaching it. At least you won't lose your weights. Yeah. And you got, I lost probably, on average, in a term I always lose more, but I probably lost like a couple weights a day, 2 tungsten weights a day, and I was using 1/4 ounce. So the last day, and then the first day I was using, first 2 days I was using like a 3/8 most of the time. So the 1/4 ounce don't hurt as bad as the 3/8 and 1/2 ounce. It's like a buck going out the window if you have to pay for them. So it's definitely try to run the line through once and then go through again. Like so you make a loop, and then I put the tag in back through that loop, and then gently pull it tight, and that's almost like when you go pull it and see if you do it right, it's actually really strong. It's not like an overhand. An overhand knot fluorocarbon breaks very easy. You can tell. That's how you can kind of tell if it's straight pure fluorocarbon. A lot of these line companies claim they're fluorocarbon, but you tie an overhand knot in them and they stretch. It won't break. It's real strong. That's a good way of telling a good fluoro if it snaps. The problem with the stuff that doesn't snap is they say it's fluorocarbon, but I don't know what they put in it. It's not 100% fluorocarbon. It's actually really stretchy.
Yeah.
And the coolest thing about fluorocarbon is the low stretch in it. You don't really want any stretch, especially the hooks we have now. So really good fluorocarbon. That's a good way to test it if you're using fluoro. And if you want to test it, tie an overhand, just pull on it and see how easy it breaks. And the more pure the fluorocarbon is, the easier it'll break. That's why it is so important to tie like some kind of slip, not a knot. Like a Palomar is really bad. You want to tie like an improved clinch or I personally I love the uni. And you can single tie it, but I like to do a double with 4 or 5 wraps, and that's a really good, consistent, really strong knot.
So you saying the Palomar knot's actually not a good knot to tie with fluorocarbon? No,
it's terrible. It's like almost like an overhand. It works in like mono. I wouldn't tie it in braid. Braid it slips. If you tie a double Palomar in braid, which some people do, it actually is very weak. It's a very weak knot. It'll actually break it. If it's 30-pound braid, you'll break it like 17-pound. It's not good. If you do a uni with like 10 wraps, you're looking at close to 100%. So 30 pounds is actually going to break in the high 20s. But Palomar, a single Palomar will pull out with like 10 pounds of force, like 30 pounds. Huh. So it's not good. Not good at all. I've done a lot of testing over the years and I get new lines and stuff. I play with it. Some of the new P-ion stuff's a little different. You got to maybe add a wrap or two just because it's slicker. But that uni, I do, and on the heavier stuff, you can get away with 8 or 9 wraps. It's plenty for, 30, 40, 50-pound braid. Again, like the 10-pound braids, if I'm tying direct, I use like 10 wraps just because I know it's really, really strong. And even like 20-pound, I'll use like, 9 or 10 wraps too.
Yeah. And
that's what the uni double. That's what the double uni. A single uni is really strong too, but you lose some abrasion resistance when you go to any kind of single knot. Anytime you have a single loop around the hook, it's gonna be more susceptible to breaking from the teeth or from abrasion. So anytime you can double it around the eye is better.
Well, that's good. I've always tied a Palomar knot, and like, but I have broke some too, Never thought about that.
Yeah, you can't. It's not that. It doesn't take that long. I think a lot of guys are getting smart too on the Elite Tour. I notice a lot of guys are throwing the uni now, and that's probably bad news. I know I've placed higher than some guys because they have broken loss, but guys are getting a little smarter now, and yeah, it's definitely a better. I mean, I know they do line tests and brake tests, but a lot of times that's a straight pull and it's not in fluorocarbon, but. When you're putting like that much shock under a knot, definitely some kind of cinch is better.
Wow, that's
stronger.
Cool. Never really thought about that. James, you got any questions for Aaron? I keep asking questions. I need to get you to ask some.
Where's James at? I haven't heard James. I've heard a little bit of noise.
Yeah,
James, are you there?
He's taking notes.
Yeah, I'm just taking a bunch of notes. Yeah, I don't try to call him or not myself. But like you said, I've lost fish because of it, especially if I set the hook really, really hard.
Yeah. I play with guys. I mean, I on tour, even Kevin's stuff I've broken off just to show him and tied mine on. And he actually left my knot on a jerk baiter. It was somewhere up north. I saw he had Palomar. I'm like, really? I'm like, you still tie this? And I took it and popped it off. I'm like, dang, what is that, like 6 pound? He's like, no, it's 14 or something. I'm like, dang, are you kidding? So I went ahead and tied my double uni with like 5 wraps and pulled it tight and kind of pulled on. I couldn't break it. It wouldn't break. He's like, he just left it on there. I'm not sure he'd fished it like that or what. I've done that to a lot of guys. I don't know why they try to help them, but
Well,
yeah, you're losing. I mean, it may be strong sometimes, but fluorocarbon's not going to be strong. It's definitely weaker for sure.
Yeah.
For sure, especially on fluorocarbons. They're probably okay if you use nylon, but who uses monofilament anymore? I don't know. Very few people.
Yeah, I mean, about the only thing I normally use it on
not that
now
there's
is...
anything wrong with it. Yeah, there's nothing really wrong with it. It's just I use leader material and monofilament sometimes for top water. I'll use like 25-pound nylon on braid just for my top waters and stuff. But straight mono to me, and Sunline makes, I think, probably the best mono out there. That's some of like the fire and stuff's awesome. It's low stretch, but still, compared to fluorocarbon or braid with a fluoro leader or mono leader, it's not incomparable. You get bit on a long cast, it's scary how much stretch you have.
Now, I know I like to throw Carolina rig a lot, and I've had some issues before with using braid to like a mono because I want the worm to float up or not sink as fast, shall I say. And I've had some issues with it breaking, but I mean, and it could be the knot too that I was tying.
That's monofilament?
Yeah. And like I said, I didn't know if it was good. After that, I quit using braid with Carolina rig. But I mean,
I use it a lot. I do braid fluoro leader a lot. I normally use fluoro, and it does sink a little faster, but it's not really that much. And I do a lot of like 20-pound braid with like and it depends how abrasive the bottom is. And if it's a really rough, hard bottom, it's got muscles or anything, you might want to use a fluoro mainline. But if it's clear muscles and you're just pulling through a timber and rock, I'll use like 20 and 30 pound a lot with like typically a 14 to 16 pound leader is sufficient, but I'll use 20 sometimes. And it's funny when you go to Texas, like the Falcon and stuff, it's like 65-pound braid. That's the only time I use really heavy braids, flipping heavy cover or Lake Falcon. I mean, there's no reason really to use anything heavier than 40. But when you go there, you use like 65-pound braid and 25, 30-pound leader and a 7 or 8 out hook. It's amazing. It's just because you're catching, when I was there, you catch so many 7 and 8 pounders and there's trees around usually, so you got to pull really hard. But yeah, for the most part, it's not like that everywhere. Usually Kentucky and gunners are like 16-pound leader with like 20, 30-pound braids, very sufficient. Now, I've always been a light braid guy. I've never had problems breaking braid, and I just think it's ridiculous to use anything heavier than that for most applications, because you make a long cast with a Carolina rig or something. It's if you have 40 or 50 pound in there, you're gonna cast your spool down to half a spool. So that's why I use a light braid. You make a real long cast, and your spool height stays high. So you still have a gear ratio. You still have you're not losing your gear ratio on the spool. So you have a lot more control. And if you do get a bite, and reel on them real hard and move the fish, and it's harder to do that without gear ratio. So that's why I do the lighter stuff. I do a lot of 20 and 30, to tell you the truth. I flip a 30 and 40 all the time. I never break off. I don't know. I've heard all the guys say how they'd break it for sure, but they might not be tying the same knot I'm tying. I do like I said, I do like a 9 or 10 wrap knot, a uni slip. So it's pretty hard to break 30, 40 pound braid on a straight, without abrasion, without something cutting it. Yeah. It's almost impossible, actually, unless you have a weight that can cut it, or if you're hitting something abrasive. It's super hard to break, and you'll shatter your rod if you hit it hard enough.
Yeah.
You should. You should.
Yeah. Now, when it comes to line and stuff like that, you see a lot of guys. I say a lot of guys. I see some like Brandon Polnick and some of the other guys using those bright braids. I mean, what is the purpose to that? Just to be able to see it better? They can see
the line. I mean, just to see it. I still like the green braids. They're more camo, but I have been playing with the yellow stuff. It's just for visibility, so you can watch your line.
Yeah, that's what I kind of figured it was.
It's not going to affect. It won't really affect it. I mean, it's when you use those 12, 10, 12, 15 foot leaders, a fish won't see it. It's not going to pay attention to that. But I kind of like a stealth guy. I still feel like the green stuff's very invisible, and I can still see it fine. So I tend to do the green stuff a lot. That new P-Ion is kind of like a black, but still, it's maybe a little more visible than the green, but it's actually a black color, like a smoke, dark smoke.
Oh, okay.
But it's actually more visible, like I said, than the green against the water. So I kind of like that new stuff they have. It's pretty cool.
Yeah.
It sheds water. It sheds water. It doesn't absorb water, so it's different. It's pretty neat stuff. Should be really good for ice fishing.
Yeah.
For when we fish those really cold tournaments, like at Cherokee this year, it would have been nice. I think I didn't have it then. I kind of think that's why they made it for us. It actually, the water sheds as soon as you pull it out of the water. It's almost like a Teflon coat on it. It's weird. The water falls off as soon as it comes out of the water.
Yeah,
so it doesn't freeze on your spool. If you guys ever fished, I'm sure you have, and it's really cold out and fish braid, it can be a pain. It'll actually freeze on your spool.
Yeah.
It's really cold, so I can't wait to try it when we have another cold one.
Yeah, I'll have to remember that.
See how it works.
I hate throwing fluorocarbon when it gets real cold too, because that stuff is like turns to a rock.
Stiffens up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So.
And Sunline did make their finesse stuff and their cranking line, which is actually probably something I'd consider throwing in those conditions because it is more supple or softer than the sniper. But yeah, you're right about that. Like shooter, I throw a shooter a lot in the warmer months, but in the wintertime, I don't throw a shooter at all. And a shooter is like a really low stretch, closest thing to braid. The closest fluorocarbon to braid that you can get. But in cold weather, it turns real wiry on you.
Yeah.
But like this time of year when it's warm out, it's awesome stuff. That's why I throw a lot of my reaction baits on is the shooter, because it is so low stretch.
Now, a lot of your reaction baits, except for like crankbaits and stuff like that, you throw braid with that, with a leader as well?
I do a little bit, yeah. I have, I'm snagging a lot, especially if you're fishing, like, I know, like, Falcon and Amistad, a few other places I've been where it was really brushy. There was a lot of flooded brush, and they're eating the crankbait really good, and if you're throwing straight fluoro, it's hard. You get sand on a long cast, you have to go get it out, and it was a pain. You'd snag almost every cast. With the braid, you can yank it through. And actually, the branches were enough to where you can yank it through, but it wasn't opening the hooks up as a perfect scenario, because with the braid, you can just, if you get snagged, you pull back on it and just pull the bait out. And I would still most of the time put a leader on there just for whatever reason. I'd still like to use a little bit of leader on a crankbait. Maybe it's because it keeps it from catching itself in the air. If it tumbles or if it hits the water and it lands, it might. If you have straight braid on, it can hang itself easier. So I tend to put like a little like a 6-foot leader on there of 20-pound or something. Plus it comes through the brush a little better with the fluoro. It's just that stretch gets you when you go to pull it. It's just really hard for some reason to yank it out of a tree. But with the braid or the fluoro leader, you can just pop it out, just pull it out most of the time.
Got you.
And you can use straight braid too. I've done that quite a bit, but I have done that, and spinnerbaits, jerkbaits have done that with the braid fluoro leader too. And actually, a jerkbait's really good on it. The braid with the fluoro leader works really good on a jerkbait. You'd be amazed how much you can move the bait without the amount of energy that you save from throwing like fluorocarbon. I'm kind of different. I throw a lot of my jerkbaits on, unless it's wintertime and it's cold. I throw them on, especially in the summer and stuff. I throw them on heavy line, just because normally like my favorite's like 16-pound, but just so you can move the bait easier and more efficiently, and then hook them better too.
Huh.
It's just you get in those really cold. You get in those cold months, I'll go down to like 10-pound, 12-pound a lot of times. Yeah. Get a little extra depth, and that time you're using finesse hooks, and you're kind of just pulling into them. But yeah, summertime jerking, I treat it more like a square bill, a stiffer rod and heavier line.
Awesome.
And I just kind of lay into them. Yeah, I get those. It's the hooks. I'm telling you, it's the hooks we got now, and I know other companies have good hooks too. But the line of hooks that Gamakatsu's come out with is, which has probably been about 4 or 5 years. They started giving me tournament grade steel hooks, and it's actually changed the way I fish. Just because the hooks are so much stiffer, and they're the same thickness, but they're stronger, and they stick them better, and they don't open up at all. It's just stuff's getting better every year.
Yeah, it always seems like you got more and more It's just crazy. You think when you think you couldn't tune it no more, you know, they find other things to make it better, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. I think the hooks I told Gummy guys, I don't think they can make them any better because you don't want the hook any thinner and stronger because it might actually cut through their lip. It's just amazing how strong and thin they are compared to what we had just a few years ago.
Yeah.
Just the greatest steel they use. It's amazing stuff. It really is.
Well, that's just like with the Mega Bass, like some of their jerk baits. I don't know what kind of hooks they use. They're sharp as fire, but they don't last long. Like a fish will break him hooks off. And
no, the out barbs, yeah, they bend out. I had problems with those. I know a lot of guys haven't used my hook yet, and I know a lot of guys, the elite tour throw them out. A lot of guys say they put them on their jerk baits, which is funny because why would you put them on a jerk bait, not your top waters or your crankbaits? But it might be just because they're expensive, but they're pretty sick hooks. I mean, I don't think you need to set the hook on them. I mean, obviously you're gonna want to, but I mean they hit it and hook themselves. It's pretty funny.
Yeah.
It goes past the barb too. It's amazing how fast they penetrate.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it's getting good. And most of my hooks do have small barbs. We had some conversations, believe me, with the OneObjective back and forth with Japan. Because I wanted a little bit bigger barb, and it wasn't just for me; it was for sales. I thought people might get scared, but I've been using them with a small barb for like 4 or 5 years now. 5 years probably. Gosh, it was a long time that I started getting them, and the barb hasn't cost me at all. If anything, it's actually helped me land fish because it penetrates wherever it hits them and goes all the way to the bend of the hook, which is what you want. And you know, even if you don't with the O'Shaughnessy, even if you don't put pressure on them and they jump and you're trying to shake them off, they can't throw the hook.
Yeah. Just
because of the type of bend it is. Yeah, it's pretty neat. Like for cranking and stuff, especially. I don't miss that many fish. But this year I have. This year I did miss some fish, but it was on different baits. It didn't have the hooks in them, but it wasn't because I think I just had a bad ration of kind of poor luck the last couple of years. Even Ross Burnett, I lost like a 5-pounder, which would have put me much further up. Rayburn, I lost my biggest fish each day. Every day I lost my biggest fish on a shock blade, on a frog. What was the other thing? It was like a spinner bait. I lost like a 6-pounder. It wasn't like the hook's fault. It's just like I hit them hard. Those are big fish, and one was like 8 or 9 pounds. It's just they come off this year. It's weird.
It's kind of like it ain't meant to be.
Exactly. It's like I'm being held back for some reason. I mean, last year same thing, and the year before that I won AOI, and I didn't hardly lose a fish all year. It just never happened.
Yeah.
But like I said, the last 2 weeks I only lost one in 2 tournaments, and that's kind of back on track like you're supposed to be. You're not supposed to be losing one a day. So hopefully I get the monkey off my back, and I'll be back in business again. It's much more fun to make those 12 cuts. I didn't make one last time. Just like Champlain, I didn't really make it. I was in 19th place. So
yeah.
I still don't know what it's like to be in the top 12, even though I won the tournament. You go out in the top 12. It's just different. It's different when you're in the top 12 going the last day.
Yeah.
But
you feel like you got
doesn't
more
mean
of a
you
chance,
can't win it, right?
Yeah.
Doesn't mean you can't win it, right?
That's exactly right.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, James, you got any more questions for Aaron?
Man,
come on, James.
Pick his brain, man.
When you throw a jig, what type of setup do you use? I know this is off the subject of drop shot and all that stuff, but when you throw a jig, do you throw braid with a jig and everything like that too?
I throw a lot of 20 pounds on a jig. Just because of the stretch issue, you have, like I said, I throw a shooter too. So I mean, if somebody's using some other branded line, you might have a lot more stretch in it. But 20-pound shooters, like when you hit them with like 80 feet of line out, you hit them. I mean, when you set the hook, it's solid. If a lot of times it's tight, you set the hook, and I've had terrible luck on a jig in the past certain tournaments, and it may just be the funk the fish are in. It might be a post spawn. They might be not eating the jig good, and sometimes you can't put a hook in them. But if they got that jig in their mouth and you hit them on 20-pound, you should stop you on the hook set. I mean, you should really feel them thump, when you hit them. But I have had issues in the past where they were eating it funny, and I don't know if their mouths were closed or it's just weird sometimes. But so I may go look at Martin and this time of year and catch, 30, 40, 50, 60 on a jig a day. I have been I haven't been there in a few months, but usually I can. And I won't lose any fish. I might lose like a handful all day, and I'll catch like 60. So it just probably depends how they're eating it. But if you are getting in a situation where they are gripping, like in the springtime, a lot of times a big fish will eat a jig and really eat it and put its pressures, and you'll feel the rod shaking. And a lot of times that's them chewing it. It can be kind of hard to put a hook in a fish, and a lot of times you'll hit them in the roof of the mouth. And or a plate in their mouth. They have plates in their mouths, and you can't hardly get a hook through that. Even a new hook will struggle sometimes. It's just so hard. I mean, I know from doing all the pictures, like with putting fish on hooks and trying to put a hook in their lip, and there's spots in their lip you almost can't put a hook. You almost can't put a hook through it.
Yeah.
And so I mean, if you're unfortunate, I think that's what's happened to me in the past. I'm certain they're eating it almost too good sometimes, and I hit them in the roof of the mouth or the. Sometimes you can pop it through them, you end up killing them. But there is some parts. I'd say majority of the fish's mouth is actually pretty hard to get a hook through. That's why some of those new hooks are coming out with. They're actually going to be a lot better because the barb is a little smaller and the penetration's going to be a lot better. So you actually get the hook in, at least to the barb, so it hangs a little bit. Like on those drop shot hooks, and the new hook I was using has, not a big barb. It has a kind of a Gamakatsu barb on it, but that's why it goes through so easy. So, the right rod, too. I use a medium heavy most of the time. If I'm kind of finessing a jig, I'll use a 7-foot. If I'm kind of pitching or catching maybe ledge fishing with a jig, I'll use like my 7.3 heavy, which is a pretty stout rod. It's like a 7.3 flipping stick almost. And, if you're using a big jig or something, you want to make sure you pair it up with the right rod. It's hard for me I've been fishing with people before in the past just for fun, like some of my friends, and it's like grab one of their rods and it's like, it's just too soft. I just almost can't fish with it. You want to make sure it's, a fast enough taper so you can hop the jig and work it right. And especially when you set the hook on, you want it to hit them hard and fast. You don't want you don't want a parabolic rod with a jig. You want a fast taper you can get away with.
Yeah, normally I throw a heavy, I throw a 7.3 heavy 7.2, 7.3 heavy rod with all my jigs.
Yeah.
But
that's about right.
I've been wondering about going to like a medium heavy, throwing some of my smaller jigs because sometimes I throw a quarter-ounce jig a lot and everything like that. So
medium heavy. I never. Yeah, I almost never throw a medium on anything except a reaction bait. Yeah, but I'll go down to a medium heavy, especially like you're saying, a 3/8 or even a half-ounce, like a finesse jig. I'll throw a 16 to 20 with a medium heavy is a really good live throwing a jig too. That 7.3 is just such a beast, and that's why I throw a 7.3 heavy. And it's like, if I was going to Gunnersville fishing edge of the grass or casting a jig on those deeper structure spots, I definitely probably want to use a 7.3 heavy. But just going down the bank and pitching docks and fishing bank, a 7-foot medium heavy is usually pretty sufficient.
Yeah, that's my favorite rig right there when I'm throwing a jig.
Yeah. That's my favorite when I'm throwing it too, but I think I kind of have lots of favorites.
Absolutely.
Catch them off. Yeah, but a jig is pretty phenomenal, especially when you're getting bit on it good and they're eating it good. It's pretty fun. It's one of the most fun ways of catching them. That and a frog. Yeah. Punching's another fun way, and that's another whole chapter. But yeah, punching's another beast. You gotta be careful with rods.
Yeah, to me, I think pairing your rod is one of the most important things over a reel. The reel means a lot, but your rod, pairing it with the right technique is the most important thing to me.
It is. So, it probably is the most important because you can do away with a slow reel, but if you don't have that initial hook set on some baits or the feel or the right action to move the bait right, it's almost useless. Now, I do use all high-speed reels. I almost never put anything less than 8.5 to 1 in my boat. I've been doing that for over 10 years now. I've been using those Titaniums, 8.5 to 1s, and ever since they came out as 8.5 to 1s, that's pretty much I use over 95% of the time. I do have some 740 ones, Metaniums, but the only time I ever use those is if I'm throwing a small popper or something really small, or if I'm fishing wintertime where I'm using a small crankbait. But otherwise, I use all 8.5-1s and everything. And
really?
that is this. Yeah, it's helped me in the past. It's helped me now. I just don't know why I haven't been catching them like it was. Well, I just haven't been getting the bites either. But the 8.5-1s are phenomenal. They're incredible reels.
So you take up all that slack.
Yeah, I know that. Oh yeah, you don't lose as many fish, and you can usually pull them down. That's why I'm saying that Rayburn is so weird, because all three of those fish I didn't do anything wrong. It's just crazy how they come off sometimes.
Yeah.
But yeah, you can reel them in quicker and keep the pressure on. I've always been a kind of pull as hard as you can kind of guy. I never, even though I was big smallies, I hook a 5 or 6 pounder, and even in a tournament, I guess it's from practicing and catching so many of them over the years. I found just pull as hard as you can without breaking your lines. The best way to land them. I mean, if a fish jumps and you have skin showing, if the whole hook is showing, you might want to back off a little bit just because you got a thread of skin. But if that hook's in their mouth, even if it's got a little piece of skin in the roof of their mouth, it's usually, even when you try to get the hook out and you try to pull it out, you can't hardly break it. I mean, that little piece of skin's pretty strong, but it's when you let the line slack is when you're going to lose more. If you instead of putting, if it was using 8-pound, I know I'm putting 5 pounds of pressure on that line at least, probably sometimes maybe 6 or 7 pounds of pressure. I'm to the breaking point a lot of times, and it's usually when that one fish I did lose in 2 weeks was when I was going under the trolling motor, the smallmouth jump. I already been fighting it for 2 minutes, and I went from like 80% of my line strength to like 30% of my line strength. It's when I went under the trolling motor, right at the moment I lightened up on the fish, he came up and jumped. It's almost like the fish knew it. And it did a real tired slow motion. One of those, it was like a 4-pound, 5-6 ouncer. It just did a real slow flop. It was tired. But I did one little head shake and a real slow, real super slow jump, and it come off. And I was so mad because I hooked it in its mouth. I know it came off, and I know it jumped because I let pressure off it when I was going under the trolling motor. But I had my Ultrex going on hold, and I was right next to a big rock crib. And I swear that fish tried to run me in, and at that one moment, I went around the trolling motor when I put the rod out around it to get underneath it. The motor was low in the water because it was white capping. There was a little bit of wind at that time, and in the afternoon, it actually was blowing pretty good. Right when I let that little bit of pressure off it came up and jumped, and came off right when it jumped. I was actually kind of mad for a while because I know it was my fault. If I just would have got on the top and the very front of the boat, and instead of putting the rod around without holding the reel on the handle on the reel, I would have. If I just would have went down, but you kind of have to put it down under the trolling motor. You have to get some distance away from the prop, and the motor was going. So I was just kind of mad in general. I shouldn't have lost that fish. It cost me a lot of weight, but like I said, I won the tournament. It didn't really matter. But for a while, I was kind of thinking that cost me the tournament. But that's what happens. You let that pressure off them, and you lose more fish letting pressure off them than you do and just pulling real hard on them.
Gotcha.
I mean, on largemouth, smallmouth, spotted bass, you're just better off to yank them. Even on crankbaits and stuff, most of the time you're better off just yanking them until they're in the boat. Even when you get them at the boat, even when you get them right at the boat, you can't let pressure off them. So I mean, your rod should be double at the boat. Even a lot of times I'll actually pull the fish's head out of the water. I'm grabbing them just because I don't want to let that pressure off.
Yeah.
I just had over the past too many times where it's always been a pressure related fish loss. It's always because you let off of a little bit, or you start getting a 7-pounder ahead. Like Geary one, I had to fought the fish for 7-8 minutes, and it was like a 7-pounder. I got second place in that tournament. It was a giant. It would have been big fish at the tournament by a pound, and it was a 7 or 8-pounder. I fought it forever, and I started getting worried about the line chafing because I fought it so long. It was grinding on its teeth. I could feel it. So the fish had the hook in its mouth. But I started not pulling as hard on it, and I got right to the boat. It was, after drifting a mile with it in big waves fighting it, I got right to the boat and I watched it come off. I was devastated.
Yeah, that's.
But I'm almost sure it's because I started backing off on them a little bit. I wasn't keeping that real heavy pressure on me anymore as I was scared it was going to break. So I've learned my lesson. Trying to do that anymore. Just pull on them.
Yeah. Yeah.
The bigger they are, the harder you pull.
I hear you.
Yeah, it works better.
Well, James, you got anything else for me, man?
man. Not that I can think of right now.
Hey, you kind of went over everything, Aaron. We really didn't even have to ask no questions.
No, yeah, it's terrible. I just let it all out.
Hey, man, that's good. That's what we like.
That's the best way to do it.
Yeah.
Yeah, but if you guys are wondering, definitely looking forward to the last tournament. I'm very happy to go from 51st place at the last swing to 24th. I'm ecstatic, even though it's 24th was a lot better than 51st, and that's where I was just 60 weeks ago. So
yeah,
I'm going to probably I don't know which one's my favorite up there because they're all so unique and so cool. But St. Clair's up there. It's one of my favorites in the country. So I'm excited about that one. And I'd like to catch them there too. It's a really good fishery, so I'm excited about that one in a few weeks.
What do you think about next year's schedule and how that's going to line up? I mean, are you pretty excited about how that is?
Yeah, I kind of went over it real quick when I first came out. I kind of forget where we're going, but it seemed like a really cool schedule. I think it looks like we're going to be doing a lot of traveling.
Yeah.
They have us driving back and forth a lot, which I do some years. Some years they put 30,000 miles on a vehicle, and some years they put 40,000. It looks like next year might be a 40,000 year. So that part kind of stinks, but that's my least favorite part of the job is the tackle, and tackle's up there really high. I hate doing tackle because I do it all the time, but the driving's really tough. It's hard on you.
I was really hoping
it makes you, yeah.
I was really hoping it was going to bring y'all back to Smith Mountain Lake. I know. I don't know why we don't go back. It's been a long time since we've been there, and I kind of just started to figure that lake out. Like the last day of the tournament, we were there last. I kind of saw the light, and then that was it. I never really figured. I never pre-practiced that lake, and I just been up there for the tournaments. And I think I did really good in one tournament, and I did okay in the other one. But I kind of just figured out how it worked, and then we haven't been back. Yeah.
It's kind of a unique fishery itself. It's kind of a neat place. It reminds me of some of the California lakes that we had in actually central California. But yeah, we're not going back there next year, and we're not going to California either, which is kind of, I like to go out there.
Oh yeah, yeah.
It's just because I know those lakes well. So I mean, it's nice going somewhere you really know. And I don't hardly ever fish there anymore. I just love those fisheries. Just love fishing. I know them. I know them real well. I grew up fishing them.
Well, the thing about
it's amazing how you can go back after 10 years and it's like it was 25, 30 years ago. It hasn't changed a bit.
Yeah.
Those lakes in California.
Smith Mountain Lake's one of them lakes when you think you really got it wrapped around your finger. They
can move there a lot, yeah.
Yeah, it happens.
Yeah, you got those big stripers there, and they make everything goofy.
Yeah.
And you have herring. There is herring in that lake, right? Blue herring.
Yeah, there's been talks about it. But I'm not sure. Like, no one actually really says, but it's just been talks about it.
That's funny.
Yeah.
The only way you can really tell is, I guess, if one spits one up on your deck. But yeah, those stripers, they make everything goofy. The bass are scared of them, and they're even the bigger bass kind of will run with them and stuff. They're still wary of them. They're just, when they get that big, that lake's got some big stripers in it.
Oh yeah.
It kind of changes the dynamics of the lake for sure.
Well, now they're starting to do
there's a lot of 30-pounders in there.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, most definitely. It's been several 20s, caught on a regular basis there for a while. But
yeah,
the thing now is they're stocking it with the F1 tiger bass. A lot of the anglers have been helping with that. And they did some testing, I don't know, about a month ago, and some shocking and cut the fin and took it and did some DNA testing and found that, that they actually are starting to kind of take off a little bit. So
that's good.
Yeah.
F1's as a half-breed between Northern and Florida, right?
Yeah. They're supposed to grow really quick.
Yeah, so they're just more aggressive.
Yeah.
That's in term they grow faster. They eat more vigorously.
Yeah.
But northern bass don't get big. I think that's what we're catching up in Champlain is the Northerns, and they're the most fun to catch, to tell you the truth, compared to a Florida. But the Floridas do get a lot bigger, so it's kind of a mixed breed.
The Floridas seem like they're a little more finicky than like the Northern bass.
They are more finicky, more prone to shutting down on you and not biting too. They're just a little more temperamental for sure.
Yeah.
Spots and smallies are the best though. They're about the easiest to catch.
Yeah, I love a spot.
But yeah, they probably do pretty good in the lake, Smith Mountain. They have them in there?
We've caught a couple. I know James caught one a couple years ago, but it wasn't but the size of the palm of your hand.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
I need to put some of the Coosa River strain in there.
Well, I know Gaston. That's what some of them been doing there. Is actually going down and catching them and bringing them back. I don't know who it is.
Oh, it's so illegal.
Yeah,
don't tell
I know
nobody.
it.
You shouldn't.
It is bad.
You go to jail for that.
Yeah, that's bad. But
confiscate your boat and send you to jail.
But like the spotted bass have gotten insane in there now. Like you can go in and actually, I had 2 tournaments where I brought in nothing but spots. And
oh yeah, you're talking about like the Coosa River, right?
Well, that's on
Gaston,
Lake Gaston.
Neely Henry. Oh, Lake Gaston.
Yeah.
And there, I don't know if I've ever been to that one. The Coosa River is really good. It's full of big spots.
Yeah. And they're just they're good. They're fun to catch. The first one I ever caught, I thought I had maybe a pound and a half, and I thought I had like a 4-pound largemouth. I was like, what the world is this thing?
they pull harder, and they're really fun to catch. Super aggressive, and they're feisty. They pull hard. Like I said, the Coosa River is probably the best spotted bass fishing for catching quality in the states. I know that some of the California lakes, of course, have those monster spots where they get like 10, 11 pounds. But the Coosa, I think they would get that big in the Coosa. I think the pressure, the amount of fishing pressure, tournaments, and people taking them home. I think there's just so many people fishing all the time. I just don't think they'll ever get to 8 and 9 pound range anymore, just because they get caught so much. But those ones in California, they grow. I think it's just a matter of fishing pressure. They don't get the pressure our lakes get, and they have a chance to get to giant sizes.
Yeah.
Amazing how big they can get.
Yeah, it's been some big ones caught there. But
yeah, it's amazing how big they get. 10-pounders. Almost all my friends have caught 10-pounders out there. My biggest one, I think, 6.5 spot.
Wow.
That's a big one.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was a wheeler. So they do get big out here. It's just pressure. I think just too many guys catch them, and I think a lot of times it's the summertime or post spawn a lot. There's just so much tournament pressure that those big ones are so delicate when you put them in a live well with other fish, they kind of end up croaking on you. But that's something I had to do out in northern lakes is I actually use 2 live wells a lot just because of the fact that we're in post spawn, and anytime you're in post spawn like that and you start getting around 18, 19 pounds, you really need to have 2 live wells running on manual all day just to keep your fish healthy.
Yeah.
But we have to be careful about that. We can't let them go when they're dead, and if you kill, every day I caught small fish before I had a limit and didn't put them in a live well at both places, St. Lawrence and Champlain. I was actually throwing back multiple keepers when I only had 2 or even 1 in the boat, just because they're 1.5-pounders. In a tournament like that, you don't want to put a 1.5-pound fish in your live well.
Yeah.
You're catching too many fish, and there's too much risk for that fish just to keel over for any reason. So
that's crazy.
If you're gonna be stuck with one, but at least stuck with like a 3-pounder. Yeah.
Yeah, at least a 3-pounder.
Yeah. We can't fish. Call them it. That's a nightmare when you get stuck with a small one dead. It's actually pretty crappy to be throwing big ones back and have a tiny one in there.
Yeah.
I think all of us have done it. Oh, it happens.
Yeah. Well, Aaron, we're kind of starting to run a little short on time, but I really appreciate you calling in tonight and talking with us, man. It's a lot of information on this show.
Hopefully not too much. I may have helped somebody. I don't know. It's good. I like helping people.
Yeah, I really appreciate you coming on.
No problem.
Next week
you guys can have me on anytime.
Yeah, we'll definitely hit you up again, and we'll try to get Kevin Van Dam. He still ain't responded to that text, and I don't want to call him and get cussed out by him, so I don't know yet.
maybe I'll call him for you. He's funny. He's funny to text me back right away or answers his phone, but usually when I call him, if he doesn't answer, he'll usually call me back in a day or two. But he's funny. He's just busy. He's that guy, man. He's under so many obligations that he's just constantly going. I'm hoping that's what happens when you're the number 1 angler in the world. You get hammered, and I got a taste of it at times when I've done really well, and it's a lot. It's a lot of demand for sure.
Well, just seeing him in ICAST.
Keep on.
Just just like ICAST and all that, it's crazy how busy y'all are.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, it's constant. Especially when you're there for maybe for 2 days instead of 3. You're pretty much swamped both 2 days. Like there's not a break.
Yeah.
No lunch breaks.
Yeah, that's insane.
Yeah.
But Aaron,
just keep on.
Yeah, I will. I'm gonna get him on here.
Get him on there. He'll come on.
Yeah.
He better.
Oh yeah. Well, I'm gonna keep hammering him. If not, I'll see him at the Classic next year. I'll hammer him then.
Hammer him then if he's on the radio show by then. That's time to get him.
Yeah.
Get him in a corner.
All right, buddy. Well, I appreciate
guys,
you.
It's fun.
Yeah, I appreciate you coming on. We're gonna definitely get you on again.
I'll do it. You don't have to worry about me not showing up.
All right, buddy. You have a good one, and good luck for the rest of your year, bud.
Thank you. Talk to you soon.
See you, bud.
All right. God bless. Bye.
All right.
All right. Well, I'm gonna tell you what. If you didn't get no information out of that show, that interview right there, I don't.
You weren't listening.
Yeah, you wasn't listening. You was sleeping, which is probably what I'd like to be doing right now. But you wasn't listening. So you better listen to this.
That was an awesome show. Just all the information that we got. I'm kind of overwhelmed with the information that we got.
Well, it was supposed to be. I should have named this in-depth line choice, and it's awesome because it ain't so many ways you can rig a drop shot and fish a drop shot. So once you kind of talk the basics of it, and a drop shot's a drop shot. It's kind of like a Carolina rig. The rigging of it is simple, so it ain't so far in depth you can go with it. I would have liked to maybe touched on some graph stuff with them, but that can be for another show. But going into the in-depth on line choice and how important of a role it plays on certain techniques and hook sets, man, that was just awesome information.
Yeah, I mean, just, him using so much braid, and then the polymer knot deal.
Yeah. I've always thought of polymer knot.
Polymer knot forever.
Yeah.
So it's, I'm definitely going to try that out. You know what I'm saying? I'm going to tie polymer, and then I'm going to try the FG knot. That's what he was saying, right?
Yeah, the FG knot's what he likes to tie, but the polymer knot is what he likes to tie, I guess, on his hook. So, but the FG knot's what he was talking about. He likes to throw when he likes to use when he is tying braid to fluoro.
Braid to fluoro, but then he didn't use the polymer when he was connecting his baits either. I'll have to go back and listen to our show.
Yeah. Yeah, because that's what it sounded like he was talking about. He was using the polymer. I mean, not the polymer knot. I'm sorry. The uni knot.
Uni knot. There it is. He uses the uni. The polymer was the weaker one.
Yeah, the polymer knot's the weak knot, one we like to tie. But he was using the uni knot on that. So, I'm going to look more into that. And because, like I said, the FG knot, I will never tie another knot. I say never, but something better might come out and easier to tie. But I will never tie another knot from braid to fluoro. Just how smooth it casts, and like you said, it lays on your reel so much easier. But I will be trying the uni knot, and definitely on stuff like on my jigs and stuff. So I just couldn't get over all the information. It was just a great show. I hope that we get a lot of views. I'm sure we'll get a lot of views. I mean, like a lot of our shows right now are with the pros, and we get really good in-depth stuff. We're averaging some good views. So, but anyways, yeah, I have no more words for that. It was just a really good interview.
Yeah, I mean, it's amazing to me that we were actually getting, some of these pros on our show, and then how in depth they do go. It's like an open book once they start. So
yeah,
it's really cool. I don't know of any other sport that you could go to and that you could get these professionals on there, and that they're trying to help everybody out.
Yeah.
Fishing is just a whole different sport than any other sport, in my opinion.
Oh, it is. It's just like he was talking about. He tied that knot for Kevin Van Dam. King Kong of fishing. He tied that knot for Kevin Van Dam. Kevin Van Dam wasn't using that knot. You know what I mean? He was still using a polymer knot. So, and for him to go do that is good. I mean, and it's like he says, sometimes he probably shouldn't say as much as he does, but he still does, and that's like why we did this show. We wanted to start teaching people that some of the information that we give out, people are going to be like, man, we already know that, but there's a lot of people that don't, and that's getting into fishing and getting into tournament fishing and learning a lot. We've talked to a lot of people that have listened to our show that have really learned a lot. So,
well, if you stop learning, then it's not any fun anymore.
That's right. That's exactly right.
On anything.
Yeah.
I think if you think that you know everything about fishing, then,
yeah,
that just goes to show you Kevin Van Dam had more to learn.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, from going from that knot to the other. So,
now,
King Kong itself is still learning.
Yeah.
So,
now I will say this. You notice I started talking about the spy baiting thing, and that conversation got changed pretty quick. We didn't go much further into that.
No.
So, I've had some people message me and ask something about that. And as I was going, I want to show this again. These were the winning baits. I showed it earlier. Hold on a minute. Anyways, these are the top winning baits. They got these guys in the top 4. And if you look at Brandon Polnick's setup, he's got a jerk bait in there. He's got a spy bait and some top waters. Same thing with Jacob Wheeler. That Seth Fielder now, he mainly used a really, really small finesse jig. And I didn't get the other baits up for Aaron. I just got his worm on there that he used. That pretty much sealed the deal for him on the last day. So, but it was still the top water bite, kind of like what would be a spring bite down south,
Yeah.
That spy baiting is kind of starting to become a thing, and I see people using it on Facebook and all that, and that's something I really like to kind of learn more and plan on doing a show maybe one day after we figure it out, or get somebody to come on and talk about it. And which we did a show earlier this year, last year. I don't know if we had him on or not. But didn't we do one earlier last year that was kind of talking about that a little bit? But I could be wrong on that. Maybe that was the last show I was on.
Yeah, we done one on the Ned rig.
Yeah, we did the Ned rig, and I had to go back and look at our shows.
I don't think we've done one on that.
Yeah. So we'll have to do that. But kind of going to talk a little bit about what we got coming up this Sunday. We've had some people ask us about and comment on our Facebook page about night fishing. That we're kind of getting towards the end of that time. We probably should have done that show earlier, but we're kind of getting towards the end of that time. So I'd like to be able to do a night fishing show so people can go out through the week, next week or the next weekend while it's still hot, and try to find some of these fish. And we're going to do the show kind of around this time. And we're going to have Eric Cadillac come on. He's actually fishing a tournament Saturday night. So he's going to come on and kind of talk fishing. And if y'all listen to one of the shows we had him on, he's a really funny guy. So I have a feeling it's going to be lots of laughs. But the cool part about this show is going to be, it's going to be open mic. We're going to be putting a number out there, and anybody can call in. Just, try to keep the language down. We don't like to have the language. So try to keep it down and ask any question you want. I would prefer to stay in the night fishing topic. But if you got any other questions on tips and techniques or like to teach us something about our tips and techniques, hey, we love to hear it. So stay tuned for that. I already posted something earlier today about it, so that'll be, share it if you don't mind, and tell everybody, because it's gonna be another good show. We're gonna have lots of fun with that one, and I'll probably talk a lot about how I like to night fish. I know I've been doing a lot of that in a kayak here lately. So anyway, that's gonna be a great show. Want to kind of go over and touch base real quick, and then we'll get off here because it's getting late. Is the Blue Ridge Bass Classic, Blue Ridge Paddlers Bass Classic. I'm going to talk to Bob about this title in this tournament because that's so hard to say. when you're talking about it. So I get tongue twisted every time I do a video with it, and it is just really tough. So Jason Hensley, I want to congratulate him on a awesome finish, 102 inches. I know that is just when you think you're starting to make headway on him, and he goes and catches another big one. So congratulations to you on that. David Williams, good job to you, and James, good job for all y'all making the top 3. We had a lot of penalties in this tournament, and a lot of it's people new fishing the kayak tournaments. Heck, me and you both are new. We tried to stay on each other about, hey man, make sure you don't do this for your penalties, stuff like that. And people's asked me and Casey, and which I want to thank Casey too for helping run this tournament series. He did really good on judging. And I will tell you this: don't you dare, and I mean don't you dare leave that mouth a 1/16 of an inch open, buddy, because he's gonna get you. He sees it. So, but there's a lot of penalties. I tell you guys, if you fish these tournaments, especially like some of these state team tournaments and stuff, read your rules, guys. I mean, really read your rules and read them twice, maybe 3 times, and try to remember them, because it's a lot to it, to these kayak tournaments. It ain't like a regular bass boat tournament. You can get a 2-page list, but it's kind of self-explanatory. On these, man, it's a lot to these tournaments. So, but anyways, I barely squeaked in there. Lost some nice fish that last night I fished, but it is what it is. I made it, and can't wait to find out what lake we're going to be fishing in August, or a river. I don't know. You asked Bob. He said if you don't like fishing moving water, you better learn to fish it. If you don't like fishing flat water, you better learn to fish it. So he ain't saying where it's going, so who knows. But congratulations, you guys. Look, I'm talking about all this, and I never even got it transitioned over. There we go. Let me show everybody the numbers there. Congratulations to everybody that made it. This event's going to be good. I've been talking with Bob, with all the sponsors come in, Well-Dex. I really want to thank them for donating $300 to first place. Jason from Jason's Custom Painting. He's probably going to shoot me because I don't think I got his name right on his business. He's a good friend. He'll be okay. He donated some money too and that's going to go into 3rd place. And then we're going to have some other giveaways. It's going to be a lot of giveaways. So, but
and
anyways,
that'll be at the 6-man event.
Yes, that's not for everybody that fished the whole event. That's for just a 6-man event. So even if you didn't make the event, Bob's telling you, come on out. Just try not. I'm saying this for me mainly too, but for everybody. Just try not to go out and fish a whole lot. If you want to come out and watch or whatever, it's fine. Because this lake or river or whatever we're going to fish, we might be all bunched up. So, depending on where we can go. So, it would really suck if somebody come in and caught a 6-pounder right in front of you that's, just there to watch a tournament. So, so just got to be, courteous to the guys that are fishing this. But anyways, I'm about done rambling. I'm tired. And then we got to set up for the next show on Sunday. So that's going to be at 8 o'clock. So hopefully everybody won't be in bed and they can call in and talk to us. So anyways, James, you got anything else to add, buddy?
No, it's pretty much it. Like you said, I'm tired. I was sleeping for an hour before we had the show tonight.
Gosh, you're so old. I'm still tired. You're so old.
I am old. Well, some of us work for a living.
Yeah, well, hey, I do too, man. You sit in the air conditioner pushing buttons all day, playing with GoPros.
I don't push buttons all day. I answer questions.
But
I have to deal with people exactly like you all day long.
And then I call you. So then you got to talk to me.
And then that's worse.
But now, I really want to thank our sponsors. I appreciate everything y'all have done. I know we've picked up the 2 new sponsors, the Costa and Falcon. Go check them out. There's links in the bottom of this. Go check them out. And like your pages on Facebook, and please go subscribe to us on YouTube if you like what you hear and you want more updates on when we got new stuff coming up. And go subscribe to us on or follow us on Facebook and on Instagram, guys. I appreciate everything y'all have done. Y'all have a great weekend, and catch lots of fish and be safe.
Go catch some fish.
That's right. We want to see them. Send them pictures in. And
yeah, send us some pictures.
Yeah, I want to see other people catching fish besides me and James. I mean, I know we look good and all, but I'm getting tired of looking at our ugly mugs. I like to see somebody else's face catching fish. So, anyways, guys, have a great weekend. Talk to you later. See you, James.
See you, man.